5 days a week is the goal everywhere it could possibly happen, point one. Point two, we continue to add 5-day-a-week capacity all the time because there's constant efforts by principals and teachers to either open up new space or use space differently, or sometimes students move to remote and that changes things. So there's lots of different moving parts, but we're always looking to add 5-day-a-week capacity, even down to child by child. Every additional child you can get to 5 days a week is better. Majority of our schools are at either 5-day-a-week all kids or 5-day-a-week majority of kids. There are definitely schools that are not. We'll continue to try and work with them. Some of them have insurmountable space situations, but we continue to work with them. Last point on the CDC guidance, we are preparing to implement it, but we are waiting on the state of New York to give us formal guidance. We'll have more to say in the coming days on what we're hearing from the state and how we're going to proceed. The opt-in is to give us the information that when everything is clear and ready to go, we can act on it for the thousands and thousands of parents who are ready to opt in with their kids. But the bottom line is, if we do have more space flexibility, that also is going to help us get more kids to 5 days a week. Chancellor.
I will just agree with the mayor and say yes, 5 days a week. And I think he did a really great job of outlining that there are some places where we're targeting specific groups of students. There are some places where we can do it all 5 days for all students, and schools are working on what works in their community. But we are pushing forward to get as many students in person 5 days a week as possible.
Excellent, thank you. Go ahead.
Last question for today goes to Ben Ivansky from Fox News.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for taking my question. On the $2.1 billion fund in the state budget that in part provides assistance to illegal aliens, is this a wise use of taxpayer money?
Well, Ben, I'm going to say everyone has a right to their own terminology. I think the people who are benefiting are New Yorkers. I know the people benefiting are New Yorkers. 500,000 of our fellow New Yorkers here in the city happen to be undocumented. They are part of our city. They're part of the life of our city. This is why long ago we provide public education, we provide health care. There's been a food crisis, we provide food, we don't discriminate. So my answer is, yes, this is important to do because these are families, these are human beings who are part of our communities, part of our life, part of our economy. They've been suffering without a lot of the help other people have gotten. This is part of how we recover together. So I do think it was the right thing to do. Go ahead, Ben.
And just to follow up on that, obviously at a time where we're seeing a crisis on the border, might this be the wrong signal to send to those trying to come into the U.S. right now illegally?
Well, I understand the question, Ben. And look, I think the answer, it's a very fair question, and I think this is the kind of conversation we should all have as Americans. And I think the answer is increasingly clear. It's comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship for the 12 million people who are here, and let's change this whole paradigm and make sense of it rather than this illusion we've been living with for decades and decades. But in terms of the folks who are coming to the border, I think it's well documented because of horrible crises that really are not like things we've seen in the past, particularly in the Central American nations, that we do need to contribute to solving at the root. The U.S. has had a long, deep involvement in Central America. We have very much been part of what has created both the good and bad there. But we have to work to solve that problem because unless we do that, there will be constantly people trying to come here because they have no other choice. They're facing violence and terror in many cases. And it's a classic situation. Any parent faced with the same challenge would do the same thing and try and get their families to safety. So why don't we go and deal with the root cause? I think it's the right time to do that. Okay, everyone, as we conclude, I just want to offer a thanks because the conversation we're having today about our schools gets back to a core reality. Our schools opened starting in September. We had challenges, we had ups and downs, but we opened our schools and we kept moving forward our schools. And that's because of our educators, that's because of our school staff, that's because of the leadership of our Department of Education, that's because of our healthcare professionals, test and trace course, situation room. A lot of people gave their all and very, very long hours. I want all New Yorkers to understand this. Your public servants have been working nonstop since March last year, many of them with no break, many of them working longer hours than they ever worked in their lives to protect you and serve your kids. It's been a heroic effort. I want to thank all of them. And now, with this new rule today, we're convinced we will have the same extraordinary safety that our schools have had while having more time in school for our kids. I know every day, every hour in school helps a child move forward, particularly after the trauma they've been through. Being around loving, caring professionals who are there for them makes all the difference. And so, everyone, it's an important point to recognize that we're going to make sure our kids get what they need. We're going to see them through this crisis, and today's announcement is going to help us do it. Thanks, everybody.